Marine biologists are keeping a close eye on an endangered orca off the waters around the southern Gulf Islands.
The most shocking part of this news, though, is that J35, or Tahlequah, is still carrying her dead calf.
There's no indication as to how it died, but since then the mother has been getting weaker and weaker as it tries to carry its dead offspring above the water.
Southern resident whales are already closely monitored because they're endangered. There are only 75 left.
We know what we need to do. You know, we've done a tremendous amount of research, we've done a tremendous amount of planning. We need to do the on-the-ground work. And that's not to say that we don't continue to do research or planning, but we need more investment in on-the-ground work. And if we do that, we can fix these problems. But it's got to happen at a scale that we haven't as of yet been doing.
In the Northwest, we have a unique population of orcas called the southern residents.
We have quite a storied past with orcas. Back in like the 30s, people shot at them because they were in competition for salmon. Then in the 60s and 70s, we rounded them up out of the wild, and now we love them. And these whales are known by name by many, many people.
Orcas are the icon of the Pacific Northwest.
They are a symbol of our region. They are beautiful, wild, intelligent animals.
Orcas are the symbol of the Pacific Northwest. They are a reason that people flock here for tourism. They are famous around the world.
The southern resident orcas are really an icon of the Northwest.
As the apex predator, they rely on the whole system being in good health. And so when orca start to suffer, it really hits people emotionally. And it's this moment of realization that our overall ecosystem is not healthy.
There are 3 threats to orcas. One is lack of food. There just aren't enough fish anymore. Orcas really love to eat Chinook salmon.
These are a species of orca that are not eating marine mammals, so they're eating salmon, and specifically the Chinook.
Way before Europeans came and colonized the area, there were salmon everywhere, so they had no problem finding plenty of food to eat.
Well, right now, Chinook salmon are in decline here in Puget Sound, and that's due to a host of things.
We started putting dams in the river and logging in upland forested areas, and it really started to degrade the habitat that salmon rely on. And as those salmon populations started to decline, so too did orcas, and they are literally starving to death because we've destroyed salmon habitat and we've filled a lot of their salmon with pollution from the cities and different infrastructure that we have out here.
As our population and region has grown, we've done a lot more paving and a lot more building, and the rain pools on top and it floods off, and all of that runoff, we call stormwater, picks up pollution and it travels into the water.
Toxic chemicals collect in the food that the orcas eat, and then it gets into their blubber, their fat.
Which, for the most part, isn't that big of a deal unless they start suffering, unless they start starving. And when they are starving, they start pulling those fat reserves for nutrients, and then all those toxins are going straight into their bloodstream.
So orcas are some of the most polluted marine mammals on the whole planet.
For orca to be healthy, it's twofold. You need to get their food source back, but you also need to drastically reduce the pollution that's going into their home.
And then the third one is when there's lots of boats around. The noise from the propellers and the engines makes it really hard for the orcas to find the fish that are left.
salmon are very interconnected. Our ecosystem out here is dependent on healthy forests.
Trees are fantastic for so many reasons, but especially for orcas. One of the things that caused the decline of salmon is that we got rid of a lot of the trees and forests that protect and support salmon habitat.
My name is Rosario Franco. I've been doing restoration for over 20 years. I thought it was just a regular job. It's not. I'm running 5 crews, and we do a lot of education for them, like classes, workshops, because the more you learn, the more you know is important. You go by nature. Nature teaches you everything, shading the water and also clean the water.
All along rivers, if you have nice, healthy riparian forests there, that protects the rivers from a lot of nasty runoff. It keeps it nice and cool and shaded, which salmon really like cold water. And it also puts a bunch of large woody debris into the water, basically big branches.
The salmon here, they want cold, clean water. The trees, everything is very important to the salmon here. As well as the salmon are important to the trees. When these fish return to their natal streams, spawn, die shortly thereafter, they're providing key nutrients derived from the marine environment that they're bringing back here. So the two coexist together pretty happily given the right conditions.
Over years, we reduced forests, cut them down, converted the land to agriculture or urban areas. So we come in and replant the trees, and then those help shade the water to cool it down. Water temperature is a limiting factor in the summertime. It gets way too warm for species like the Chinook to survive.
One of our biggest issues in this area is our rain. And so when you have more trees on the ground, those trees suck up a lot of that rainwater and reduce the amount of stormwater runoff.
We don't get what we think of as a river in terms of that meandering pool riffle system without the trees. The salmon use those riffles for spawning. The riffles also create subsurface flow. So anytime that the water goes into the sediments and comes back out again, it's cooled and it reduces the pollutants in the water. So it's actually cleaning the water as it's flowing down the stream.
And that provides nice little habitat refuges where both adults and juvenile salmon will hide from predators and also find snacks as they migrate between spawning grounds and the ocean.
We need to better support those hatching fry, the young salmon. So what we're sort of doing is replacing what would have naturally been here under other circumstances. Something like this should just be full of structure and logs, big trees like these that fall in. So, a lot of that stuff is gone. It's been cleaned up, and and this whole little back bay here is selected as a location because it's exactly the kind of a spot that juvenile salmon are drawn to. We can easily create shelter for them on their journey back out to the ocean, and every little bit helps. So even just this one little loop on the river here does make a difference ultimately.
What we do on land matters, and it impacts our orcas and it impacts our salmon.
They can't wait for additional action to happen tomorrow. It needs to happen today.
The more trees we plant, the cleaner, healthier our environment is. It's a very simple action with a tremendous amount of power.
So trees are absolutely important to recovering salmon, and the more trees that we have, the more salmon we'll have, and the more orcas we'll have.
It's our impact that has led to this. It's our impact that can lead us out of this. And it's not just any one person, any one agency, but it's all of us. And we have a lot of work ahead, but we can get there.
We're not going to let these animals go extinct, and it's time to get to work. We got some really exciting news at the end of 2018 that there is a new calf out in the water with these orcas. His name is Lucky, and he just sort of represents a lot of different hopes that people have for this population. It's been really difficult watching these whales for the last 3 years not able to successfully give birth or raise a calf. So Lucky is a very special orca that we're all keeping an eye on and holding out hope for.
I mean, what would the Pacific Northwest be without orcas and salmon and trees? It's hard to imagine.